This weekend, I traveled to one of the most fertile arable lands in Nigeria, Osun State. Whether I take the lonely Iwo Road entry point or the pothole-riddled Ife-Ibadan Expressway, I marvel at the endlessly green vegetation on both sides of the road. This time I journeyed through the Ife-Ibadan Expressway. 3 towns piqued my interest: Ede, Sekona, and Ikire. At Ede, we passed by the old Timi of Ede's palace. Disappointing. I mean, can it not be turned into a museum? Illustrious sons and daughters of the town can actually do better. And right after Sekona, by Elewure Palace, I met with Tawa, who sold palm oil. I haggled a 5-liter keg of palm oil to 8,000 naira, but I was still reluctant to buy. Thankfully, she didn't blame it on the dollar. Rather, she said to me, "This is unadulterated palm oil, and my echo is behind here." Really, an echo by the express. Images of a younger me watching how palm oil is made and running little errands for grandma floated to me. Tawa's enterprise fascinated me. Production point is less than a meter away. Sales point is unsophisticated, yet strategic. The cost of doing business is low. She's most likely not paying rent. Absolutely no stress. And payment was cashless, no POS. Tawa lives a better quality of life than many city dwellers. Tawa's Nigeria is certainly not the same with mine. I thought of how the Osun State government could stem migration out of the state by empowering businesses like Tawa's. At Ikire, the town famous for the Dodo Ikire snack, I was curious to see how Dodo Ikire is made and why the town is synonymous with the delicacy. Luckily, my guide is from Ikire, and the woman we met inherited the trade from her grandma. There is no factory at Ikire for the export of Dodo Ikire. However, an Ikire indigene, Iya Ede, runs a Dodo Ikire factory at Ede for export. Osun State has immense potential for export. If only the state will look inwards and stop depending on federal allocations.
It's good you ended with federal allocations, because that's what I was just about to say. Now, why can't we have cottage industries that will add value to perishable products? All we keep hearing is electricity. Can states not generate their own electricity? Most states in this country are bigger than many countries we hear about.
That's right.
Let's take Rwanda. I was in Rwanda last month. Why can't each state governor say, "I will make my state like Rwanda," for example, without relying on the federal government?
Abia State is trying.
Vision.
Let's give them kudos.
Yes, Abia State is generating its own electricity. Lagos State is about working on this.
Yeah, I could see the progress in Abia State, but it's nowhere near Rwanda. But yes,
I mean, when did you start? Really?
But
I'm not just become Rwanda. Of course, I am from Abia.
But they're trying. Zuma.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just impressed with the fact that you know how to make palm oil.
I mean, I recorded that in my first book, Memories of Grandma. I wrote about it because I used to watch my grandma, my maternal grandma, make it. Yes.
How was your trip to Osun?
It was really good, but for the potholes. I mean, I wondered, I said to myself, is this where the Oni of Ife passes by all the time? Because it's very mobile. And that road is really pathetic.
Yeah.
It is.
Osun used to be one of my favorite states to do road trips to a couple of years back, but in recent times, maybe due to the insecurity situation, as well as the potholes, like you mentioned, it's become quite unattractive. And Osun is very blessed. It is strategically positioned in the heart of the southwest. The weather is amazing for most cash crops: cocoa, cashew, palm oil. I don't know why the state is not is not doing more to retain the youth in the States. If you see an average Osun person, the moment they are done with secondary school, they don't even want to do uni in the States. The ones who accidentally do uni in the state, they want to come to Lagos to do 1 or 2 things. You know what? If the government start investing more in the agricultural value chain and start incentivizing corporations to come and domicile manufacturing, processing industries in that space, it would do a whole lot more to help them retain the youth in the states and reduce rural to urban migration. And considering the fact that they have more than 90,000 hectares of arable land.
Right.
900,000 actually. It is unbelievable.
It is just
it is
a
unbelievable.
vast, fertile land.
Zuma, you have just described the situation in every state.
No,
Basically, what you described.
Lagos does not have, no, it's not the same.
Lagos doesn't have
is
that
not
kind
the
of
same thing.
vegetation.
Abuja does not have the same thing.
No, you get the
But those are
point.
just
Those are destination places where everybody from all the states.
So
wants
what
to
you
end
are
up in
describing,
Lagos.
it's not saying you're wrong. It's
You
what
are
you're
not
describing
wrong.
is a major problem in Nigeria in
Yeah.
most states. Not, I mean,
People
I
not
agree.
accessing their
I agree.
resources and
I
the people
agree.
moving out. And Osun has gold.
They have gold, and then
And you know,
gold.
they are doing a lot of gold mining. Even though a lot of them are
illegal.
illegal. Yeah.
And Osun State is the second largest exporter of cocoa.
Yeah, they do more than 50,000 tons
Yes,
annually.
in Nigeria. So you can see it's an agricultural base in the southwest. But let me pause there and come to Apoko Doctor.
We have been describing the unfair advantages of Osun State, right? But if we look at it in the private sector, when a board of directors come together and hire a CEO, if I'm correct, the CEO has one goal. It could be increase the profitability of this company or whatever it is. You know, there's a reason you were hired. How come when it still boils down to the same conversation that we're having? Because when it comes to politics, our systems
KPI.
are, yes, there's no KPI. You just
No
come
vision.
in, there's no
We'll give you
vision,
light,
there's
we'll give you
nothing.
water. If you don't give us at the end of the 4 years, there's nothing we can do.
Exactly. There is no there is no
KPI is
accountability.
roads.
Even the roads.
And
We have many of the roads in the state
Yeah.
capital.
Yeah.
Go to the place that should be linking the farmers to where they should get some market. You will now see that road you are seeing is only in the state capital.
Exactly. Because if the leadership were thinking like CEOs, you would harness every advantage you have as a state.
Absolutely.
But we're not doing that. We have politics that are centered around the personal, you know,
Personality of the CEO or the governor.
rather
That's
than
why
the
we
people.
need people like you to
But we
run.
also need to remember that the aim of government is a non-profit. It's
I
not
agree.
to make profit.
I agree.
It is to provide services
Provide services,
Enabling
improve
environment.
and
exactly.
the quality
environment for
of life.
business.
Yeah.
Those should be the
The Rwanda
KPIs
I
in which-
mentioned, business is driving the country, but the government has created an enabling environment. As a foreigner, I could own 100% of my company at zero cost, registering that company. All I had to do was pay my lawyers. That's telling investors, please come.
And are you sure Rwanda they haven't paid you for it?
So speaking,
Rwanda so many times. I'm tempted to go and set up in Rwanda too.
So speaking about Rwanda that you mentioned, since you brought it up, right, and taking it back to KPI, Rwanda is a state that I've visited about 3 times, right? I mean, a country rather, I've visited about 3 times, largely in Kigali and other parts of it. It's a place where if I want to meet any minister of Rwanda, I will meet the minister.
Exactly.
Because as you are chasing them, they are chasing you.
Yes,
There is
Yes.
a clear target. They know what they want to meet. So when they meet you and know that there is value, they look for you. Here, please tell me the minister that anybody on this table now will even have a reasonable proposal to give to, and you have access to that
Minister, let's start with
just saying.
commissioner,
Right, so
or even senior
starting from there, you
special
realize that you already
advisor
have
or
a system
assistant.
and a structure that ensures that when you get into office, you know that you are there to deliver,
Exactly.
not there to just make money or make name or
Exactly.
whatever it is. But I like to say that Nigeria is a blessed country.
It is.
Nigeria is absolutely a blessed country. And that is why I say when we're talking about Nigeria, Nigeria is not Lagos. And I like that you are doing these trips. I love traveling and documenting it for us and bringing out lessons, right? I remember going to Adoewaye, where you have
Adoewaye.
the suspended lake.
Lake, yeah.
When I got there, I saw everything. I saw the journey. The road wasn't as bad at the time, but I don't know what it is right now. And in my head, I'm always thinking about the opportunities we have when it even comes to the tourism industry in Nigeria. How no one is paying attention to that. Like for every state in Nigeria, they can independently say, this is what we are projecting. I'm just hoping that one day would have maybe it, as much as we like to say, it's not just the president, right? We'll have someone who, your leadership, maybe you just pick 1 to 5 and tell us, this is what your agenda, this is what you're going to change. and then it can then trickle down. Let the next person come and say, I'm focusing on education. Education, as we know it, is not a short-term deal. It's a long-term project. It's something that you begin to see the value from 10 years, but because it's not something that you will see on paper and say, in line with the renewed hope, and then they see it immediately manifesting. You see a lot of politicians are not interested in education.
I quite agree with the whole Nigeria is blessed scenario. I feel it's just our way of putting our head in the grass. Because hope is not a strategy. We keep saying Nigeria is blessed, Nigeria is blessed. We need to have realistic data in order to make certain decisions. But before you make those decisions, where is the data? It shows you that the people who are even responsible for these things are not interested in collecting data that actually matter.
That is a totally different conversation. If you start the data conversation,
the data conversation does not negate the fact that Nigeria is blessed. What you then do with that blessing, it's just like when you go to church every day and say, God, give me a job, and you don't send your CV anywhere. Right? Exactly. God has blessed you. So it's what you do with the talent and skills and resources around you that will determine the kind of life you will live. Right? So Nigeria, it's not a question of whether Nigeria is blessed or not. It is. But what are you people doing with the blessings?
If we continue this way, we might not be blessed anytime soon.
Yeah.
No, let's